You're about to watch a very special episode of Roofing Insights podcast. My guest today is Mike Hammer Martinez. I know Mike for many years just from looking at the distance. We never really collaborated anything besides few handshakes at conference here and there, usually at Wind Storm and few other industry events. I've known of him but never actually met and sit down to talk to the person. We became somewhat friends after the podcast and I had to defend Mike Martinez publicly after this episode. You will see what he shared, and if you follow us on Facebook, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people have attacked Mike, and I felt like it's my job to defend this man. We're gonna have two versions of this podcast. You're about to watch the clean one, but there's also extended cut one. We have to cut out few things for legal reasons and also for viewer discretion advised. Kind of graphic stories did not make in this cut. Nevertheless, it's going to be a great episode, but if you do want to see full version, you'll have to subscribe to the channel because we monitor who our members of the channel are. It's only $15 a month. You can unsubscribe anytime. It's option is there below, but that's how we manage our memberships to the channel. We do produce tons of content. Sometimes we'll sit on 10 episodes. If you don't like to wait, the membership is very good option to see our podcast and videos as soon as they've been edited, because we don't publish more than 4 videos a week, and sometimes we'll be sitting on 3-4 weeks of backlog of different episodes. Also, we are not charging our guests a fee to come to us, and obviously making quality content comes with a big expense. So out of respect to our sponsors, we always talk about them in the beginning of the video. And sponsors of today's episode is Work Ninjas. If you're looking for a personal assistant, virtual assistant, Work Ninjas is the place to go. They do a lot of different services, from supplementing, job costing, to just working on your business remotely. I have VA myself and have been for years, and I absolutely love hiring someone from different countries, from different places. They don't have to be in the office with me to be productive, and sometimes those people have better work ethics than labor force around you can offer. For that reason, I cannot recommend Work Ninjas highly enough. Go to workninjas.com to see all the services they offer. I've been at their office in Honduras, and I know personally the owners. Amazing company, amazing people, amazing work ethics. Now, let's go to Mike Hammer Martinez and his story. Enjoy. Mike Martinez, Hammer Martinez, thank you for flying in, brother. How was the workout this morning is the question I always ask my guests.
Man, it was actually rejuvenating. You know, what you built here on the compound, I could see it's mind, body, and soul. It was a different workout than I'm used to, but we broke a sweat and it felt good, dude. It definitely felt rejuvenating, and it gave me a lot of energy, and I'm ready for the podcast, man. I'm excited.
Love it. That was on purpose. Man, I feel like I'm interviewing the roofing industry of the past 10 years. To me, you represent this era of storm chasing, wild parties. Obviously, you probably, for the most people, associated forever with Anthony Delmedico and old school wind storm, good, bad, and ugly. Let's start there. How did you get in the industry? What's your background? Maybe even before Delmedico, how did you get in the industry?
Wow, that's a good question. So at 16, I started out of high school at a company called ProMark One. It was one of the largest telemarketing companies in the country. And at 16, I was already working, man. I was giving away credit cards. I was doing I then moved to cell phones, and then I got involved deeply in Arizona. A guy that, you know, maybe a lot of people remember, a guy named Don Lapre, which is one of the largest making money from home guys in the country. And you know, I was 18. He had a big office downtown Phoenix. All the guys drove like BMWs, the convertible Eclipses, man. I was like, I just want a part of that lifestyle. And so I started working for him, and you know, it was a job to be wanting to be worked at. You know, they had food food, they had candy. He had the script laid out on the desk, which is where a lot of my telemarketing skills came from, because there was animals. It was almost like the Wolf of Wall Street, and we were selling people an opportunity to make money from home. And it started out with the 1-900 lines, the psychic line, the sports line. I don't know how old guys are that listen to your stuff, but I mean, that was the beginning of an age of home-based businesses. And so the telemarketing for me has always been in there for me since I was 16, all the way up into sales, till forever. But, that home-based business, dude, taught me how to sell the dream, right? Because people they're sitting at home, they're eating their popcorn, and Don Lepre taught me to say, hey, let's call these guys and teach them how to get involved, buy an Amazon drop shipping site or buy a 1-900 business. And then they got to obviously start somewhere. So the business was like $199 to $499 for a website, right? And then they go to a different department, which is where the top sales guys are. Say, hey man, you got a business now. What's your plans on advertising it? And we had huge advertising packages. I'm talking from 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000. They leverage it on a credit card, and some of them would make money, some of them won't. So that's kind of where I was bred from. I was bred from a guy like the Wolf of Wall Street that was even heavier back then. And then all of my leaders and mentors were top sales guys. They call them reloaders. And they basically got praised for making big sales and putting numbers on the board. And I've been putting out numbers on the board since I was 18.
Wow. So was it anything about actually the product? Like everything you described to me, it gives me that Wolf of Wall Street vibe. Money, money, money.
Yeah.
People don't really care what people get. Like, as a matter of fact, one of the iconic scenes in the movie is where DiCaprio is in a call and making his first sale. Everybody's blown away, but he does not care about that person. He does not care that he's going to lose. It's all about me. Would you agree that in that culture, it's all about the person making sale?
100%. And that's kind of how I become who I am today, because, dude, I've ran the round robin, dude. I've been there. I understand leadership. I understand good leadership. I understand bad leadership. I've seen it all. And I can't tell you how many times, I have worked with bad leadership, right? But that gives me the drive today to be the leader that I want to be, to show up how I want to show up, to help people add value to their business and win. Because if they're not winning, you're not winning. But back then, it was just let's eat, dude, and let's eat, and we're hungry. And you put a number on the board or you're dying, dude. That's how we rolled.
Would you say that that culture is very well and alive today in the storm chasing industry? A lot of people lead with the Rolexes, cars, that lifestyle. I mean, this is kind of what Anthony Delmedico tried to build early on. Would you agree that it was like flashy, kind of like?
I got two perspectives for that, right? I'll use Kyle Dotson, for example. I brought Kyle Dotson to win the storm. He was 21 years old. I closed him for 50 grand along with Bill Walsh. I was the hammer, right? So, Anthony put a product out there, I'd close it, right? And I was excited.
How did you get with Anthony?
Okay, so that's a crazy story. So I met Autumn in South Beach at one of the Win the Storm conferences. We kind of fell in love. And one of those things where you're at
you dated?
Yeah, we dated for almost 7 years, dude. Yeah, we dated. Yeah, me and Autumn dated for 7 years. And what happened was, it was a crazy deal, man.
What did you do at Win the Storm? Attendee? Like, how did you get there?
No. So this is what happened. So what happened was, I was involved in the home-based business opportunities. I thought I made it, dude. Probably, I don't remember how many years ago it was. I thought I made it. And then all of a sudden the laws changed. Okay. So imagine I got a room doing $250,000 a week. But the problem is, you
made $250,000 a week.
My room was doing $250,000 a week, but it wasn't real money. Do you understand? It was borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, because what happens is, you sell a front end website for $199 to $499, right? Then they go to a advertising department. The advertising department charges them anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, 50 grand. But at some point, they may or may not make money, so they're going to charge back that card, dude. So it's always a pull-tug scenario, right? Wow. It was a crazy business, man. It was wild. I mean, one of the biggest rooms in Arizona.
Are they still in business, or it's out?
It's going. It's like this. Some guys are still doing it. It's I look very down upon it. It's not a healthy business. And so let me get into this. What I'm saying. So what happened was I was ready for real deal, right? I ended up opening up. I don't know if you remember. I think it was 2017. I ended up opening up Victory Local, and I learned from Big Fish Local, which was the largest SEO company in the country. They were literally calling every small business every single day. That's how many employees they had. And it was that press one now to update your Google listing, right? And you press one now. And what would happen is I had 40 reps in a room, and then I would study data. I would get them to do inbound calls, because I would work night and day from morning to night using a thing called Yellowbot Scraper. I would scrape all of the small businesses as good as I could, all the mom and pop shops, all the dog groomers. And what would happen is I'd have my reps call out the voice broadcasting when voice broadcasting was around. It would say, hey, press one now to update your Google listing. It would funnel into one of my guys, and I'm getting into the story so you understand. It would funnel into one of my guys, and one of my guys would take the call, say, oh, yes, ma'am. This is Susie's dog grooming. Okay, yes, we just updated your listing for 2000, whatever it was. By the way, we just looked at the dog groomer in that area. You're not showing up. We're aware of that, but we have a place for you. And then my guys would turn around, sell them a website for $4.99, and then also give them the Google listing for $1.99 a month. Dude, I built an empire. I built it up to almost $200,000 a month, right? But I get a call from a kid, and this is the start of the beginning of SVG. I get a call from a kid, and a kid goes, and I wasn't living the best lifestyle. I was a young kid, kind of like Kyle Dotson, but he's a lot better person than me than I was back then. And I thought I made it, right? I got a room of 40 people. I'm doing $200,000 a month reoccurring billing. I feel like I'm hosting websites. I'm doing a real deal. I feel like I made it. All of a sudden, this kid calls me from First Data, says, hey, man, are you hosting these websites? And I'm like, yeah, we host the websites. We build them, everything, right? Dude, within 2 minutes, and this is how quick your life can change, that dude shut off my merchant account, and I had nowhere to process $200,000 a month, okay? And I still got a room of 40 reps, and I got to pay everyone. It's Christmas. So then I'm bleeding, and I keep it open because I don't have the business mindset that I have now. It was like, hey, man, I got to close the doors. I got to fire everybody. And those are hard decisions to make. Now I can make those decisions. Before I couldn't. I had too much heart and too much cared about the people. So then I started blowing money, burning money, because I'm like, I can't get rid of my salespeople. I can't get rid of my team. I'll never get it back, right? But that wasn't the truth. But I believed it was the truth, so that's what happened. So next thing you know, all of a sudden I'm bleeding money left and right. I'm bleeding $40,000, $50,000 a week in payroll, dude. I had to take $150,000 paid one of those payday loans. Never got it back. I ended up having closing my business, shutting it down. I had a meltdown about it. I ended up running into the biggest guy in solar. And I went to go work from him, because you always got to get back in the field. You can't just give up. So I went back to work for a company in Tempe. I told him about my vision with Rocky Point, Mexico, Puerto Penasco. I went out to Puerto Penasco, dude. I built an empire again, a solar business. I got involved in the restaurant business. That ended up failing. Anyways, long story short, I want to get into the Mexico thing, but I lived in Mexico for 3 years, Hermosillo or Puerto Penasco and Hermosillo. And then all of a sudden, dude, I clicked up with, I opened up the wrong business, and some people weren't happy with it, the nightclub. And all of a sudden I'm going back to America, which is how it was supposed to be in line, because I'm going back to America.
What happened in the nightclub?
So I opened, I had the solar company upstairs. Okay. We were crushing it. A bar nightclub opened up downstairs.
So you have a solar company upstairs?
Yeah, because I felt
downstairs.
Dude, I felt I had to feed my employees. I'm like, hey, I'm going to feed my employees. I'm tired of telemarketing.
So
I've been doing this.
You coming to work through the nightclub?
It's crazy, dude. I know what I was thinking, but here's the funniest part, dude. I was so tired of eating tacos in Mexico, dude. I was like, these are Americans. They want barbecue. They want turkey legs. But I didn't market test it. I was young, I was like, so I built this whole Coyote Ugly. You know the movie, right? So I put about $500,000 to $750,000 in this bar, rebuilt Coyote Ugly, dude. Okay. I had barbecue. I had turkey legs. But nobody came to Mexico for barbecue. They come for tacos, dude. But that's what happens when you don't market test. So that's kind of the start. So what happened was, after living in Mexico for 3 years, All of a sudden, I burned through all of my savings. I didn't make any money because the bar nightclub was under control of somebody else that I had to be partners with to be part of it, right? And so what happened was I went back to Arizona and I had to live in my sister's little bedroom, and I had to get a Toro. And Autumn got me a job with SVG in that little teeny office, dude. And that's the first time I really got to know Anthony. And he was still a maniac back then. I mean, it was Anthony, me, Autumn, and I want to say what was your name?
Was it like their first, second, third year in
the
this?
first office. It was like a baby office. I have videos
How many
of it.
conferences they've done at that point?
I want to say they maybe did 3.
3.
Yeah, maybe 3, dude. But I came in there with all my sales skill sets and everything. And it was always a battle between me and Autumn putting numbers on the board, you know, and I've been a number one in every company I've worked for. And I'm not saying that pridefully. I'm saying that with the truth, dude. Yeah. Number one of every company I've worked for, I've been number one because I eat, sleep, and drink the business. It doesn't matter to me. So what I did was I mastered it, dude. In the same way you see me operate every business today, dude, I studied Anthony's stuff. I'm at the gym watching SVG. I watched probably 10, 15, 20 videos a day, dude. And I mastered it because I wanted to prove to him that I had to show, because if you're going to run a business and believe in a business, number one, you have to believe in the owner. And I've always been a number 2 guy, not really a number 1 because, you know, what happened with mine. So I believe that as a number 2 guy, you got to put the number 1 guy on a pedestal. You got to show if you believe in the product, so does everyone else, right? So I would post about SVG every day. I would show that I was doing the training videos, you know, and then slowly but surely, dude, I mean, my numbers proved themselves. I became number 1 for Anthony's company for many, many years, dude. But I only worked with him for 1 year that year, okay? Because I was already being watched by people that were watching me. And that's when I got recruited to CMR by a guy named Travis Franklin, which, by the way, we just met up at the Win the Storm, and time heals all wounds, and we were able to reunite.
How long you worked for CMR?
So, dude, that's a funny story. So I went out to CMR. They shipped me out to Naples, Florida. I was, you know, I didn't have a ton of money. But, you know, I felt like, hey, listen, this is a hurricane, my first hurricane. He moved me into the Laley house. I took his team to number 1, 294 tile deals in 6 months, dude. And I'll say this, and I'll say this just and take it by the chin. I didn't get paid on none of them, dude. None of them. Some things happened. Some things, you know, happened with that. And COVID hit. After COVID hit, you know, you could either sit there and cry and about your 294 tile deals.
Was it your fault or their fault, or was it a dispute, or
it was a dispute?
Was it fair?
It wasn't fair, and everybody knew it. Josie at the time was the VP. Steve Solar was the biggest dog in the country, and it was a dispute between. I got brought on by a team leader. I don't want to get into the details of the behavior or what happened with him and his lifestyle, but I was there fighting. I'll just put it like that. And I did a lot of the work, but because he was the team lead and brought me in, I had no leverage to say, hey, dude, those are my deals. And so what happened was, when the time that became cap out, I didn't get paid, which it hurt at the time, but sometimes those are the things that grow you, you know? So then I get a call from a buddy. He's like, hey man, it's during COVID. We shot out to Charlotte, North Carolina, dude. And I dominated between him and I with Masson. We kicked in 100. We didn't kick in, but we did 149 deals ourselves in Indian Trail. Union Trail is one of the best markets I ever worked because, dude, I'm wearing a mask. I'm knocking on doors. We're essential workers. You can't go anywhere. You know, you can't do nothing. There's no lifestyle. But, dude, the adjusters were handing the checks out the window because they didn't want to get out and check out the roofs, dude. They had a printer, dude, in the truck. And literally, we're going out and doing this, and they're meeting us, and they're just handing the checks out the window, dude. It was pretty cool. So then after that,
what a time!
Yeah, it was crazy.
What a time! Comment below if you remember those times. If you would like them to come back now.
You know, I talked to guys, and some guys made more money than COVID, but then some other guys, like we talked about earlier in the sauna, you said, "Hey, man, you got to be creative." You know, you could sit there and cry. I mean, my mom passed during COVID, dude, and my dad. And she was locked in an institution. And, you know, the pain was real. And I just had to put my head down and keep working, right? So I did. And the thing was, that was my escape, right? I just realized during COVID, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna work out. I like you. I got weights in my room, and I was pumping every day. And then we were going out, and we just dominated 2 neighborhoods, 150 deals, dude. Because we knocked on the door, and when you dominate a neighborhood, it's like you're next, bro. Up, you're next too. Dude, we're coming to you. Just like Davy Cox did this year in St. Louis, you know? He dominated St. Louis that same way because once you dominate a
I'm
hood.
still waiting for your call. He was supposed to buy my underlayment, and I don't know what happened to it. Let's help me sell him underlayment.
Dude, tomorrow, dude. That's done. That's a done deal. Dave's my boy. You know, I ran into
Dave,
him.
welcome to the family.
Yeah, now I'll get him in there. But anyways, so that's kind of the beginning. And then what happened was I got recruited again to go run another office in the Woodlands, Texas, with Woodlands Roofing and Construction. And then I was living a good life. I was in the Woodlands waterway. I thought I was creating something cool. And this was still towards the end of COVID. Dude, and then Lake Charles hit, dude. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm all excited again. I got my little headlamp on. I think I'm going to my first real hurricane because I missed the boat with Irma. Because, you know, all those guys in Irma with CMR, they made money in the beginning, right? They all made millions, you know, like, you know what I'm talking about. But so I was like, this is my chance, my first real hurricane. I'm out there. You know, we're driving out there. The poles are down. There's cars everywhere. And it's not like you're going out there to a hurricane to make a bunch of money and write a bunch of contracts. People got it messed up. We went out there to save people, dude. I didn't know what to expect. I'm cutting people out of their houses. I got my headlamp on. You do the funny story. So that night I'm in a trailer with 15 dudes. We're looking for somewhere to eat. There ain't nothing, no electricity, no power, nothing. I'm trying to motivate these guys. Dude, I go to a local convenience store and it felt like it was almost a drug deal. To be honest, the guy's like, hey dude, come here. He saw me. I'm a bigger guy. He's like, hey, I got something for you. And and there's all these people trying to get gas and food in Lake Charles. You know what I mean? And he pulls me back in the room and he gives me a pack of bologna and some bread. He's like, put it back, put it here. I'm stealing the bologna out of the store at Lake Charles to feed them, dude. Because you got to be prepared when you go into these things. You know what I mean? So that would happen. We went to Lake Charles, ended up finding out that a lot of people during the Lake Charles storm didn't have the right licensing, dude. Everyone just ran out there. You know, like it was a quick deal. A lot of people didn't have the right licensing. So then they shot me out to Pensacola, Florida. I went out there. And then finally, dude, that guy, I built his team up. And it was a weird market because you had to travel 2 hours because the bridge was down. And then finally I was like, you know, I ran into Anthony and Anthony was like, just come back and help me with SVG again. So then I came back with Anthony and we rocked and rolled. And then that's kind of where the initiative started. Because of Pensacola, Florida, because I ran into a company called KO that was doing solar, right? And what happened was those guys wanted to learn how to sell for the hurricane, right? And so I saw Fahad running around filling up hotel rooms about this solar deal, which I didn't know nothing about, but I thought it was kind of dumb, filling up hotel rooms, and I didn't see him winning in a big way. So I called him up, I'm like, dude, and this is when I went back to yesterday, I go, dude, why don't we put the solar in the university, dude? And then we'll convert, and then these KO guys, they were solar, so I converted them to roofing utilizing the SVG platform because I was always using it, right? And everyone could see that. So then finally, the idea hit. Me and Fahad and Anthony went to David Williamson with the idea. David Williamson was like, I'm David Williamson. I ain't doing this with you. Anthony was just trying to close him. Anthony didn't understand solar for nothing. I'll tell him that to his face today. He knows. But anyways, he didn't know solar. He didn't know nothing about it, dude. And David was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so next thing you know, Fahad had a different partner he had to cut out, but it ended up happening, right? And that year, we ended up putting solar in the university because Anthony's always a mover and shaker with VR goggles, whatever he can come up with. We ended up putting solar in the university. We mostly me, converted 250 roofing companies to solar that year, dude. It's been a ride.
It has been a ride. So how many roofing companies have you worked for over the years?
As a roofer or just a consultant?
Sales rep, consulting.
Well, I also had Hammer where I was
when you were part of the team.
Not a consultant, not dropping in and training their team and blitzing just as part of the team. Maybe 5.
5? Maybe
6. Real quick roofing. Maybe 6.
How many times you didn't get paid?
Almost every time. Other than Charlotte, North Carolina. Because it was only me and him. and it was his company. And basically he wanted to party all the time and I had to work all the time. Right. So that one I for sure got paid, but Quick Roofing did. I was also the director of Southwestern Quick Roofing in Ian, and they did pay me. But the deals, so when we dropped in, I dropped in with 75 guys in Bradenton, right? And I dropped in with Daryl Mick, and he was kind of my arch competitor. And I always get pinned against somebody. It's so crazy, dude. I just can't fly, right? They always got to put me against somebody. Somebody's always got to try to beat me in something, right? And that's how, it's always happened to me. But, we dropped in with 70 guys at Bradenton, and Quick Roofing is a great company. Don't get me wrong. Eric's a great guy. Jay Coleman is a good friend of mine, and they did support me very well. But I made a mistake. And if you're a guy out there and you're looking for a company, a lot of times the local company is the right company to go with, right? Quick Roofing, I thought they were a cool national brand, $250 million. Josie was the VP. He's the one who brought me in. The problem is in Florida, for example, people want to do business with people in their own state, in their own, so I thought Quick Roofing was a national brand. We drop in, and the guys, we just weren't building as fast as was promised, out of all the respect in the world to Eric Armstrong and Jay. And as the leader, and this happens to me all the time, I come in, I explode brands, and you can either handle my volume or I get in big trouble. That's what happens.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. I want to give advice to people because, first of all, your energy is through the roof. You're probably the most energetic person who ever sat in that chair. And I love it, but it's also a little bit overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I feel just like talking to you this morning and now, because we never hang out together, that you move too fast. And a lot of sales reps, good sales reps, they move so fast. They bring all these deals.
Yep.
And when the relationship ends, they don't have a solid contract, they don't have clear understanding. Do you feel like that's your downfall and your biggest mistake, that you move fast, you bring value, but you move so fast that you don't stop and don't put expectations in writing, don't document your journey? Because I feel like so many people have shake deals, promises, kind of let's go for the beer, I'll bring you 100 deals, and then they will bring 100 deals, but then they're going to be terminated and they're only going to get paid on 30, and there's nothing in writing. There's, it's a he said, she said. Do you feel like it's your problem and most of the top reps in the industry problem?
I think there's two dynamics to it. Okay. I think you need that guy with volition. We talked about it this morning, right? When Jesus told Peter to walk on water, he walked on water till he thought about the human reasons why he failed. I'm a volition guy. Okay. You tell me where to go, how fast you want me to go there, and I'm going to get you there. Now, where I've seen the most success is where there's another guy on the other side that can control my speed, slow me down, and make sure we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Definitely my skill set and value is not crossing the I's and dotting the T's and organization. My skill set is get out there, just walk on water. Like I told Mikey this morning, I said, dude, I'll be the first one out of the truck, dude. Whether I'm not going to overthink it, right? I'm just going to get out of the truck. I'm going to knock on the door, and what's going to happen. That's what happened when I dropped in, and that's where I earned Davey and Justin Parker's respect when we dropped in St. Louis earlier for the first St. Louis storm with Lee, when he flew me in to rock his storm team out there, and Davey Cox and Justin Parker were just little, Davey just got out of prison or whatever. He had nothing in his pocket. Justin Parker was, doing in his little,
Justin parking things.
yeah, whatever. But do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm that guy that comes in and can just pour gasoline on a fire, but it necessarily ain't going to be a contained fire, dude. And it's worked for me in good ways and bad ways, right? Because you pour gasoline on a fire, it's an inferno. But you may not be able to control the inferno, right? So where I thrive is where the product's good, okay? Where we have good fulfillment, where we have a good leader who knows how to control my speed. And Anthony and I, we learned over the years, dude, many nights.
How was it working? What was your red flags? Describe Anthony's leadership and how it was working for him.
Anthony is a very, very smart dude, okay? He is a creator.
I would agree.
He's not a good sales guy. I'll tell him that to his face, and he knows it. I mean, he would sit me down and say, I'm going to show you how to sell. I'm like, good luck, dude. You don't have a chance, bro. But, and he would sit me down with all these new people.
Is it because he just cocky or like arrogant, or like what makes good sales rep? Why do you think he's not a good sales?
He didn't have the empathy or the understanding. So I fight for my clients, dude. I want them to win. I also understand their pain, right? So that came a lot from my background with the biz ops, because you'd have to take a person and go, listen, man, what's your main reason to want to get involved in this? Do you want to, do you want to work the 9 to 5 for 45 hours, or do you want an opportunity to be able to buy the car you want to buy, the house you want to buy? Are you an owner wearing all the hats?
Yeah.
Do you want to finally release yourself from those chains?
I feel it. You're exactly right.
Anthony doesn't have that in him. He doesn't have the understanding, the empathy. And the other thing is, he doesn't have the passion I do. And I love him to death, but he ain't going to talk to a guy about his family and his life. And when I talk to guys, dude, we have conversations, dude, for an hours if I have to help them rebuild their life. I'll give them 3 books. I'll give them The Power of One More. I'll give them Fly in the Wind. The first thing I do with an owner is I want to make sure he believes in himself. And I was talking to Mike Holmes about that this morning. He's like, dude, if you're not putting nothing positive in your body.
He does not believe in himself.
Well, we're talking about it. What I'm saying is, I talk about this for years, right? You have a gas tank, okay? And your gas tank, you have a pretty strong gas tank too. I know you put a lot of stuff in you. If you don't fill that gas tank, that car goes putt, 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 right? So, years ago, I stopped listening to music. I don't watch as much TV. I started doing all kinds of books like The Power of One More, Flying in the Wind. So I'm constantly putting stuff into my body because I got to deal with people every day, from SVG, from Sky Diamonds, even the call center doctors that are like, hey man, I'm at the end of my road, right? I got to have that inspiration to give back to them, whatever it is. The first thing you got to do as an owner, if you're not being successful, you got to look in the mirror and go, hey dude, am I going to the gym? Am I listening to the books that I need to give the content to my employees? Am I filling myself up with positivity? Because how am I going to give positivity if I have none for myself?
Who's the better salesperson, Lee Haight or Anthony Delmedico?
Dude.
And who is the better
Both of them have ruined my deals. Okay, I'll get on sell, and then they'll get on, and I'll tell them both to their face too. Their ego would get in the way of massive amounts of my sales, dude. I'll have a sales guy ready to give me everything, a roofer guy all fired up, and Anthony go, let me talk to him. And same with Lee. And they get on the phone, they go, you're going to do it my way, and you're going to listen to me. And Robert Myers, I don't even want to bring that name up, was a perfect example. I sold him for a $40,000 on-site, right? He wanted me, not Lee. And Lee jumps on the phone and goes, well, you're going to have to follow my regimen. You're going to have to watch my videos. You're going to have to listen to my meetings. And dude, and Robert at the time was like, dude, I ain't doing that. I just want Hammer to come out here, train my team and motivate. I want nothing to do with you. And so, dude, Lee ended up pissing him off respectfully. I didn't even say that, but getting him so mad. He's like, no, I'm not doing it. Next thing you know, I got to call him back 2 weeks later. He's sending me 20 grand and I'm doing the onsite, dude. So both of them have ruined many of my sales over the years. But Anthony has really evolved and become a better person. And I think that he's actually humbled himself a lot. Like, Anthony's a funny guy. Like when ChatGPT first came out, I went to this guy, Ted. He was showing all about the ChatGPT prompts that I wanted to learn. And I knew it was something big that was coming. And he's like, why would you do that? That's so stupid. I'm like, dude, no, it's not. And next thing you know, 2 months later, Anthony's coming, hey, dude, that ChatGPT thing's pretty cool, dude. I could write a whole book now. So it's pretty funny stuff. But I love Anthony, dude. He'll always be in my life. He'll always be a father figure to me. Lee's a different story. All the respect to Lee. But it just, him and I had a big falling out because you talked about Natalie too. When I come in, I pour the gasoline on the fire, and a lot of people aren't happy about the money I make. So I was probably one of the highest paid people in Sky Diamonds, but I was also the only one that ever made sales for him. He tried to duplicate me a bunch of times and never could do it. So we're Sky Diamonds today. I don't know.
When you don't have, when your product sucks, it will die. It doesn't matter how good the sales reps are. Like, sooner or later, the product will die. And who needs Sky Diamonds? I mean, university will
I'm going to say something about the universities, dude.
Sure.
I think they're great, right? Because here's the thing. It's one thing to get in a truck and go knock a door. But the university, and Anthony nailed it, right? Even though and dude, that was the other thing. I couldn't get those dudes like pulling teeth. Guys, listen, we're in 2023 here. Can we change the videos, dude? I mean, it's time to upgrade a little bit, Finally, I had to wrestle Lee to the ground, and I convinced him to let me change the videos, and he literally did it. But he only would do it for 2.5 hours, and we went to a house, and he was like, wanted to play wrestle games with his buddies while I'm doing the videos, dude. So now I'm in the skydiving videos, right? But I felt that it's important to evolve your product, especially the universities, and update them to 2023 or 24. But at the end of the day, dude, they all worked. They did, because, it's just about that starting point for a rep. And when I can go in and drop in as Hammer and play the SVG video, and even Anthony's old orientation video, storms, whatever, and then they could see some door knocking, I could use that as a tool to come in and start my training, because it sent the same message across every time. That's how I use the universities.
How do you manage your reputation? Because you've been associated by default with the Delmedico, Haight, all the companies you work for. So you also build a reputation of a person who jumps the ship too much. Like people look at you like, well, this guy worked for 20 different companies. Why he's keep jumping? But you also work for the people with a very shady. It's one thing that you didn't get paid, right? But it's also their reputation that they're not paying, or they're shady. Or how do you protect your brand? How do you recover? How do you manage how do you do damage control for working with someone with a very bad?
Bill Walsh is a perfect example. Okay. I close, and not too many people in this country could say they closed Bill Walsh. Okay. I closed Bill Walsh twice for 50 grand for Win the Storm. But that's where our relationship was built, right? So what happened was I closed Bill for 50 grand. Bill's a very smart dude. Like you said, dot your I's, cross your T's. He put in the contract, if there's not X amount of people in the room, I want my money back, right? So when I closed Bill Walsh, he also owned me. So when we went to Win the Storm and Bill got on stage and there wasn't enough people on stage, I became Bill Walsh's worker, dude. And Bill, literally, he's like, Hammer, you better do something about this. So I had to literally move as fast as I could, create a lunch and learn for Bill Walsh. And he ended up getting the lunch and learn, right? But I had to do that all the time. And so to protect my relationship, I don't know if that exists, but what I try to do now is I try to live a righteous life. I try to show up. Like I'm with Men's Honor now. Chandler and Pro Exteriors. I'm with Champions Club. A couple weeks ago, we've had 500 homeless people on Saturday morning. And I think it's just important for people to see me show up and show my character now. They can blame me for whatever they want, but at the end of the day, we also do know the truth. Those brands, SVG, built a lot of brands, created a lot of relationships, and a lot of those guys can say whatever they want about it, dude, but most of them came from there, and if so, have relationships with people from there. So it's like everything evolves in a season, right? Everything evolves, and we all went through different stuff for a reason, but at the end of the day, those brands built a lot of relationships. You can hate Anthony all you want, but at the end of the day, a lot of people do like him, and he did help a lot of people. Same with me. Probably a lot of people do not like me, but then I got a whole inbox, probably like you. They hate you, and then you got all these other guys who are saying, hey, you're inspiring me, dude. You're really stepping up to the plate. You're showing up. But to answer the question, man, I just show up, man. Like I said, I show up. If I have, I show up, I do the best that I can, and I fight for my clients. Like if they're not happy, I'm going to bat for them, dude.
What advice would you give to young roofers who thinks chasing flashy mentors is the way? Because we have now people who literally go from event to event, and I call them like never learning roofers. You can see them at every mastermind group, but they never can break like $1-2 million. They always stay small. They're never really growing. They're everywhere, but they're chasing the hype of learning, but they're not actually building the business. Do you see that category?
I think there's a blend there too, right?
Yes.
They was talking about Kyle Dotson earlier, right? Met him when he was 21. He's wearing gold chains. People want the lifestyle, and they want to see success, which is they don't want to see not wins, right? I think Kurt Linnington did it great with Lanier and how they promote, how they did build their company, and they built it with the fitness guys showing that lifestyle. I think there's two roads there, because as a recruiter, Kyle is a perfect example. Yeah, he has a Rolls Royce, he has a Lamborghini. And he's changed his life. I'm very proud of him. He's sober now, thank God. Thank God. But that's how he attracted the talent, right? So back to what I'm saying is, I think there's two blends to a company. You have to have that guy that's going to bring the people in, the energy, the volume, and then you have to have the guy that maybe is more similar to you, that it's not me, but also then sits down with them in the mentorship to teach them the right ways, to show them how to do it the correct way. But the first thing is, the problem is, the thing I've noticed in the industry, the guy that dots his T's, crosses his I's, and I could be wrong, I'm just telling you what I've seen over the years, he can't get the sales guys to come in. And if he does, his team's super, super small. He doesn't grow to a massive level, which is why I think Kurt and Tony did it really good, because I seen them. You got your promoter out there representing the company, showing up, and then you have another side of the business teaching them the correct way. And CMR was very similar to that. I'll tell you that. They did dot their I's and they crossed their T's. And I think the success from them was a lot to do with Harvey Cohen and the attorneys, because what happened was, dude, I went to Laley. I dropped in Naples. We took those guys out with Travis, and we went to Blue Martini, and that's where we got a lot of the recruits, because they saw us flashy and out there. But then what happened was, when it came down to business, CMR dotted their I's and crossed their T's. Every deal that you went and signed, and we're talking about, these deals were tile deals. The commissions on them, $10,000 to $20,000, right? So you're out there hustling, you're recruiting guys, and then you shoot that deal to an attorney. The I's are dotted and the T's are crossed anyways. But I think there's two perspectives there. I think that you have to be a little flashy and out there, like Kyle, right? Especially in the younger generation. And then you have to also have the organization, which I seen Kyle switch from the flashy, and he's still there, but now he's more on the business, and he's got 40 guys, dude. He's got 40 guys. He'll probably do, 20, 25 million, but it was him growing into that. I mean, he's a better person than I was at 25. I'll tell you that. These younger kids got it more figured out than us. I think that to be a really successful company and grow to the sales team that you need, I think you need to have both. I think you need to be able to be that flashy guy a little bit, because you got to reel them in, right? When I dropped in with Robert, and I got the bartender guy to come sell for us at Chili's. I sold him a dream. You got to really get them fired up about the business, and then you got to pull back a little bit once they start getting their sales, and then there's got to be a mentorship there. What do you think about it?
We attract people like us. I feel like, if I'm all in fitness, I'm going to attract guys like, linear roofing, like fitness guys. Mm-hmm. If I like Rolexes, sports cars, bikes, like flashy lifestyle, I'm going to attract more of that. It's not that, I will not attract those guys too. You might. It just goes both ways. It's like usually, like I attract certain type of roofers. Delmedico will attract certain type of guys. If you go to roofing process conference, you're going to see more immigrants, humble guys, kind of like mom and pop shops. You go to SVG, you will see more guys who like that lifestyle, like, party, because we attract people like us. Like in general, in everything we do, it's not right or wrong. It's people. Who said it best? I think it was Heath Hicks. When I was fighting Lee Haight, right? It's almost like two clans.
Yeah, clans, dude.
I
saw the clans.
and few people said it's awesome. Like actually, Kurt Linnington said it, and I loved how he explained it. He said, "I love it because you're head of your pack. He's ahead of his pack, and you're supposed to do this. Like as a leader, you're supposed to fight for your beliefs, what you stand for. There are a lot of people in my group who hate Lee Haight and what he stands for, and there's a lot of people in his group who hates me and what I stand for.
Yes.
So in that level, like we're leaders. So whether you're doing debate, whether you're doing fist fight, or whatever the case is, disagreement, you're supposed to do that. But it's not right or wrong. I mean, I can recruit people from him. He can recruit people from me. Anyway, we're all different. My next question is, what's the most toxic thing you saw leaders normalize in our industry? Like it's toxic, it shouldn't be here, but it became normal.
You talked about, I saw you had a post, when I went out to CMR, and I was training as a green bean, they were teaching me how to rip up tiles.
Oh,
That
wow.
was the norm, dude.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, we didn't get on a roof. I'm just being honest. I mean, hey, we're here. Let's keep it real. Yeah, that was the norm. You got up on and I didn't know better because that was my first exact experience. But the homeowners wanted their roof spot too. I mean, that was one of the things after years of being in the business, I realized, hey, that was probably not the right thing, but that was the way my leadership was showing me.
Yeah, we normalize it. You're exactly right. I was surprised. Like 4 weeks ago, I made a post like, send me the video of making the damage, and I was in shock how many people have done it. How many? And now, like actually, this Sunday we're publishing video.
Dude,
Like someone
I'll tell you a funny story. Dude.
Go ahead.
So I thought it was the norm. So I ended up taking a video of it and placing the tile and sending the video. And then Steve had to make a phone call real quick and say, hey, tell Hammer, don't do that.
Like Lee Haight Lee Haight has videos like jerking shingles, right? Like I agree that's bad. Like I love that you said it. I love it.
But I want to add something to that.
Sure.
I think the most toxic thing, and this is what I would have told myself years ago, is there's guys out there that are still not evolved, right? Spiritually, still drinking and partying, and they believe that to show success is to go out to the bar, go to the strip club and party. And for years, and this is where I kind of started to do my transition, and I talk about it in my videos. At 45 years old, dude, and now I'm 47. For 45 years, I was on the wrong tribe. I was bred into believing that if you have a great week, you're going out partying, right? Now I don't ride that roller coaster anymore. So I think that there's a better way, and that's some of the toxicity I saw. Like a lot of the perfect example, like when I ran into Steve Solar at the Win the Storm, it was very normalized. And I couldn't believe it because even in New Orleans, I don't drink at events. At least I don't drink at the events. I don't drink at conferences. And I'll usually, back then I would stay sober and then usually drink at the end of the event. Right. But dude, I was dragged around New Orleans with Anthony. I'd work the conference from morning to night, give it my all my energy. We'd go to a dinner. And then next thing you know, we're at the club, dude, with the poles. I'm not going to say what, you know what I mean? And it's like 3 a.m. and they say that was normalized, dude. And that's not okay.
Let's talk about industry a little bit more. Roofing is full of hype and empty promises. How did you personally get caught up in that? So you said that your first job, it was kind of like, it's about us. It's not about what client gets. In the roofing, we also have a little bit of that. When we like, not necessarily much in a roofing sale, because if you get insurance claim approved, but if you're making a damage, you do stuff for yourself, not for the customer. We're kind of hypocrites. We're telling homeowner, oh, you need new roof, your insurance owes it, and then you break in the tile. So now it doesn't mean that you owe for it. But also, when you sell like your Sky Diamonds and stuff, like how did it affect you to hype products that maybe weren't that good?
That was the thing, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. I truly believed in Sky Diamonds. I still do. I truly believed in SVG. Whole different ballgame, right? Because the guys that you were talking to needed the help one way or another, right? They needed the mentorship. They needed the leadership. And a lot of them don't know how to take a guy and train him. And that was just, you got to think of Sky Diamonds and SVG as just a spark of interest, a starting point, right? So even if, let's say, for instance, I'm a recruiter and I hire a bunch of guys and I got to fill a room, and then I got to go in there every day and say, and every I got to give them the same presentation, the same pitch. The way I looked at Sky Diamonds and SVG is, even with just the orientation videos, and be able to show a guy that's never in the business a couple door knocking videos, and then go roll them into an interview, and then I felt that the product worked, right? I felt that it worked if they used it the right way. As far as the roofing side of things, you asked me about a company, false promises, different stuff like that. I ran into that with Ian, believing and not taking anything away from them because I'm sure they learn from their mistakes and they'll get better and they maybe didn't know either. But with Quick Roofing, we just didn't. The promises was, hey, dude, we're gonna build the fastest. We're gonna do all this and that and the other, but it didn't happen. And then the sales guys got lost and a lot of opportunity got lost. And then slowly, and then, the storms have timing. They started to figure things out and we started to build. Like for a perfect example, they brought Texas roofers out to build in Florida. There's different, you can't do that. Right. But they learn from their mistakes. I think that's our whole life, right? We have to go through these experiences, try, fail, succeed. We have to fail to build those calluses and learn what we need to do to be successful. So as far as the owners goes, on the roofing side, I think it's a double-edged sword, to be honest with you, because we're fighting against an insurance company, dude. It's crazy, right? Let me tell you about this. So in Charlotte, North Carolina, I can go to a roof and it could be missing one shingle. Okay. That roof's getting bought by the insurance. In Texas this year, dude, I go to a roof and it's missing half its roof, 40, 50 shingles, and they're telling it's a repair. They won't even give the homeowner a complete replacement. So, like I said, it's a tough narrative for me, but it's like the homeowner is getting taken advantage by the insurance company. They need the new roof. It's a battle, right? It's a battle between the insurance company and the homeowner and what's fair and what's not.
What do you see as the next trap young roofers are falling into today?
I don't know, man. I don't necessarily know there's a trap. I think that everyone's got to go through their experience. You talk to anybody that's heavy in the roofing game, and we all got burnt. Tell me somebody that's successful in the roofing game who didn't get hurt. And I'm not saying that, but it's them to do their diligence and find the right company. I don't necessarily think it's a trap. It's a life experience. And every single life experience, I believe now at 47, all those life experiences, whether they were bad or good with Anthony, with Lee, I have love in my heart for all of them, dude. All of them. I mean, even with the Mexico thing, I have love in my heart for it. I have love in my heart for every bad experience I have because those are the bad experiences I can reflect. Because you talked to me earlier about, well, what's good leadership? What's bad leadership? Well, you can't know what good leadership is if you haven't experienced good, but you can't know what good leadership is if you haven't experienced many years of bad leadership. And by doing that, I could decide the character that I want to be.
All right, Mike. This is nerve-wracking for me because I've never done this before, but we're going to finish with a Facebook question. So I dropped your name that I'm interviewing Mike, and I said comment below. So let's go. Oh, no. This is bad.
I know. Andrew
Ways. CC Ducks, I guess, call center has burned the market. I got 100 plus screenshots of them not paying agents and telling them, all right, not to mention multiple people having their $30,000 call center built out completely crash and burn, while what we're promoting people who promote bad products and whose companies don't pay employees. Mike doesn't own it, but he's promoting it.
So listen, the call center environment, like I said, I've been in it for 25 years. It's very volatile. That could be a rogue salesperson. I don't know the guy necessarily, but there's just, when you're dealing with hundreds of people, it's funny. I talked to Jason yesterday. We had a great meeting. I mean, from the time that I came in, the call center doctors, he had 129 employees. I came in and dropped a hammer nuke on, and there was 329 employees. And you know how volatile that can be. Some will work out, some won't. The hiring, the firing, all that stuff. I mean, I can't speak on Jason's behalf, and I never will. I will tell you, I think he's a great leader. I think he runs a great organization. And as a whole, we have a ton of raving fans, raving clients. You can't make everyone happy, but I think that we really crushed it this year. We proved it at Win the Storm. We had the biggest booth there. We had tons of people come up, give testimonials. I mean, you can go on my page. There's 86 testimonials. You can't make people do that. And they wouldn't do that if we didn't give a good product and whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's Jason's company. Let's clarify that right now. It's not Hammers. I'm just behind the sales and really fighting for the clients daily to make sure they got the fulfillment. And dude, I think we did a good job.
How was the Win the Storm with Josie's management. How
Dude, it
how
was
di- how different was it for
Oh
you?
man, dude, Josie did a great job this year, dude. From the pickleball event, there was all kinds of
That's my
energy.
favorite.
Dude,
Pickleball was my
Dude,
favorite.
that was the exciting thing. I mean, you saw guys running around energy. I mean, Drew and Adam Toner are good friends of mine. I provide a lot of those guys leads, and they were all, they were so fired up about the dodgeball. They were ready to fight, dude. It was cool. It was cool. And Josie brought back a lot of the faith to the industry. The first year was a struggle for us, dude. I mean, literally, I'm in an Airbnb trying to win everyone back. It wasn't easy. I think they did a great job. I think he did an amazing job. And I think that everyone loved it.
Justin Stevens group. Ask him about all the drama and rumors with Kimba. We want all the dirt.
I'll just say,
Whatever you want to share.
I'll just say it like this. Kim is a great person. I think that she has some evolving to do and growing up to do. And I hope that our experience will help her get there, help her heal, and help her realize that there's a good tribe over here and this tribe over here isn't as supportive. I found some things that, obviously hurt me, but at the end of the day, God will align us of where he wants us to be aligned with, and where he wants us to go. And it was a great season with her. We crushed it in business. Unfortunately, I'm in a different place in my life than she is. And relationships work out and they don't.
Ryan Belcher says, something just ain't right. I wonder what do you mean? Mike Brown says, hammer the scammer. you have haters. Well, listen, we all have haters. What's your take on the haters? What's your message to your haters?
It's funny. It's funny you say that because, like, dude, I'll go out. We fed 500 homeless people. I felt amazing, and nobody will say anything about it. Then I posted, dude, I didn't know, right? This is a funny story because I posted the BMW, and with the BMW, you got to put 1,200 miles on it to have the turbos released, right? And it's funny because I posted a thing. I said supercar problems. And I posted the mileage, and everyone came out. They want the ruckus. They want the war. And me as a Christian guy, I'm trying to come back and not be polite, but inside I want to be like, dude, what car are you driving, dude? What you got going on that you want to attack me? Yeah, I made a mistake. It's not a supercar. Sorry, guys. It is a high performance M4, and I didn't know.
It's BMW. For God's sake. It's not even Mercedes Benz. Call it what it is.
Yeah, it's not a supercar. I'm like, sorry, guys. I apologize. But on that post, I got 40, 50 likes and all of these comments, and people are fighting each other. It is. So, the haters is definitely something I'm learning to deal with. But what I try to do also is I try to understand where they're coming from. Like, where are you hurt inside, dude? Because, like, even with the Kimba thing, right? She has to put all these things on social media. She's got hundreds of guys in her inbox representing something that maybe isn't 100% true. It's like, dude, I don't have time in my life to go put a million messages in women's inbox, let alone go troll somebody about their car, dude. I'm busy, dude. My inbox is full of me trying to help people and inspire people and build their business. I don't have time in my day to go look at someone's page and go, dude, you suck. What's going on with your life, dude? Are you winning?
Hunter Adams asks why he can't focus on just one thing and jumps around so much. The downfalls of shiny object syndrome.
We talked about that earlier, and you said it best at the fire, right? Guys right now are sitting in their roofing companies and they're waiting for it to end. The insurance company's coming. So the same thing with all the brands, when the brands, the leadership, I start to see the leadership fail. What am I supposed to do? Sit there and fight for another man's company? These aren't my companies, dude. These aren't my companies. And when I'll use Josie for an example. I mean, we rebuilt Win the Storm last year. And when we came back, he bought Total Home. His focus is necessarily on Total Home, not necessarily on SVG. So I can't stick around and wait for for the leads to come back in and for him to rebuild SVG. Like you said, I got to keep moving. I got to get creative. I got to move where I feel that I could be the most successful with me being a sales guy. I'm not the owner of these companies. I'm a sales guy of brands and companies that are either going to continue to go up or are about to go down. And Hunter knows that, by the way.
Cody Ray Weddle says, this is going to be a disaster. I think we did pretty good. Comment what you think.
Yeah.
Mike Holmes, actually in the studio here behind the camera, survived barely a cold plunge earlier. Adam Peterson. Yeah, I believe he was protecting a guy who physically abused a woman and had an arrest warrant out for him, flying him to conferences and things. Real curious about that. Sierra Campbell might know more. I don't know what it
that's
like,
an ex.
If you want to comment,
that's an ex call center doctor employee, and I have nothing to do with that drama. That's not my company, not my rodeo, not my circus, dude.
All right, Isaac Rodriguez, ask if he colors his beard.
Yeah, I do, because I feel that it's important for us to stay youthful and young and not fall apart, right, Mike Holmes?
This is the smartest thing I have ever seen on this forum. Thank you, sir, for saying what the silent majority is not saying. All right, Josh Bruce. The call center didn't work out for us. It was a waste of money. They claimed to use the best storm data to only make phone calls with prevalent storms. That was not the case for us. They scheduled appointments in areas that hadn't seen a decent hailstorm in 2-3 years. They used another company name, then introducing themselves over the phone. They scheduled 3 of my 20 leads with non-English speaking families. 2 of the 20 leads were set with individuals already working with other contractors. My company's in Arkansas, and they scheduled 9 of 20 leads in Arizona time zones, so we're hour late to all 9 appointments. There are some other things, but I can't even think of what they were.
Listen, man, nobody's perfect, right? And so I don't know any lead company that's ever been perfect. And if you do, please send them my information, and I will sell all their leads for the rest of my life, right? Technology is glitchy, and when you grow at a pace that we do and you have plenty of raving fans, raving clients, I'm sure there's going to be some bottlenecks, and we talked about that with the storm, different things with different companies. I have a lot of companies in Arkansas that have been very, very successful. I have plenty of testimonials about it. There's a lot of variables when it comes to that, though. It depends on the storm market. It depends on the amount of leads. It depends on their sales guys, how they do, how they show up. But at the end of the day, Call Center Doctors is not my company, but I will tell you, it's been a great product. Many people have said that. We've showed many, many results. A lot of raving fans, raving clients. But at the end of the day, I can't speak for one client that wasn't successful. That'd be difficult considering in the last 7 months, we brought on 330 of them. And I told you this earlier, part of the reason what I saw in Jason is if you would have told me 2 years ago, we could have 45 guys in DFW crushing it. It didn't exist. So at the end of the day, I think that Jason and Call Center Doctors has done an amazing job and still doing an amazing job, but they're also going to get better. He's going to see his failures, and he's going to fix them, and he's going to come back next year even stronger.
Andrew Ways asking, we have a real hater here. I love this. Why does he work for a creep, and why does the whole company shop at Baby Gap? What's up with the burning and not paying their agents? Well, the same. The whole situation is very odd and very cringe, and most of us are laughing at not with them.
Yeah, well, you're going to have hundreds of agents in Mexico. Who knows what happened with their paychecks? I mean, that's not my,
What about Baby Gap?
Well, Jason's a funny guy. He does, he's got his own style. He's got his own rhythm. When I met Jason and he hired me to go to RoofCon, I mean, I like the guy, but he's a different breed, but he's also super smart. He's a coder. He's a pretty smart dude. And I don't give that up too much often.
One more. Ryan Brunton. My Hammer and Jason Schulis are exactly the type of predators we don't want in the industry. They prey on small business owners and contractors, selling them a dream and never fully delivering while getting rich in the process, or at least acting like it. Promising massive results like never having to knock doors again and turnkey done-for-you lead machines and ultimately falling short. Is it possible to switch to call center and never door knock again?
No, I think that's where
is that a
no,
value
no,
proposition?
no. I think that's where people make the mistake, right? Like Chandler Pro Exteriors has a call center with us. He's crushing it. He uses in Texas. He uses in Colorado. He uses in Kansas City. Okay. I think it's a variety of things that's going to make your business successful. First off, I wouldn't give my sales rep 50% on the lead. I'd give them 25% on the lead and force them to flower the hood. Then I'd also then I'd ask, hey, is he in the WhatsApp group? Is he taking a picture of the front of the house? Is he taking a selfie on the roof? Is he taking a picture of the contract? Is he taking a picture in front of the sign? Are you building the momentum of the sales team? Are you utilizing the leads to recruit new recruits? Because a lot of these new sales guys, they want leads. They want leads. Otherwise, let's use an example. Priority Roofing, $150 million company, right? I got to speak with 26 of their locations. I fulfilled over 220 leads in Fort Worth, which you never would have thought happened, right? For them. It's just, and they crushed it. We crushed it for them. So, I mean, I think that it's a variety of tools, but it also comes down to leadership. Are you leading your team the right way? Are you leading from the front? Are you pushing the momentum? There's so many things when it comes to a successful roofing company, like we talked about. Do you have all those things in place? Are you being the leader that it needs to run your team? Are you constantly recruiting? Are you bringing in new blood every week? No, you're not. Because if you're bringing in new blood every week, we wouldn't have this conversation. We would have a conversation of when are you selling your company, Kurt Lanier?
Ryan Branton, one more comment. This dude's mentally unhinged and a scammer. I love answering to haters. You answer to that. That's the last one.
Okay, cool.
Are you a scammer?
Huh?
Are you a scammer?
No, bro. Listen, we talked about this earlier.
People call me a scammer.
I sell a product, okay? There's no way we could have had one of the biggest booths at Win the Storm and had all these guys come up to us and then not after Win the Storm also hold the plug event where all of these clients are coming in one room, dude. And they're giving me high fives and hugs and telling me how much I appreciate it. I'll tell you a perfect example. Jack Pinto walked up to me at Win the Storm, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, dude. And he gave me a hug. He said, Hammer, I love what you're doing for the industry. Keep rocking, bro. And that's Jack Pinto. Hail 911.
Yep.
Best storm leads. I don't know. I love these guys, but I feel in my heart, and we talked about this earlier, you asked me if SVG was a scam or Sky was, I don't feel it was. I feel that it did add value as a tool to be successful. I think these companies need to understand, they need to think outside the box. They need to not be Redbox Blockbuster. What are they giving what are they doing for their company to constantly grow it, constantly evolve it, constantly give their sales guys the tools that they need to be successful?
Love it. That was the last question.
Yes.
I know it was a long podcast. We're going to wrap it up. Guys, comment away. I read all of my comments and reply to most of them. If you have questions for me or Mike, comment away, and I'll see you in the next video.